I was grabbing coffee downstairs when I ran into my boss on a blind date. He undid a cufflink, a telltale sign of his impatience, from what I knew. As I turned from the counter with my coffee, I bumped right into him, spilling it all over his suit. He glanced at the stain, then gave the woman across from him a resigned smile. "Ms. Williams, I don't think today is going to work out. I'll see you around." Then he walked over to me. "Are you just going to stand there? Trying to get out of taking responsibility?" My boss was wearing the same black suit from his business trip yesterday. He'd clearly been dragged here straight from the airport. Across from him sat a woman in a pink tweed suit. At first glance, they actually looked pretty good together. Of all the times to run into this mess, it had to be on a coffee run for my team lead. I hurried to the counter to check on my order, hoping to grab the coffee and slip out before he noticed me. But just as I turned around, my boss, who was supposed to be by the window, was suddenly right behind me. I walked straight into him. Half the cup of coffee went flying. Oh God, oh God, oh God. His suits were all custom tailored. This was going to cost me months of my salary. I looked up at him, but I didn't see any anger in his eyes. I quickly grabbed some napkins from the counter. "Mr. Clark, I am so sorry." He took the napkins and dabbed at his suit a couple of times. Then he turned back to the window. "Ms. Williams, I don't think today is going to work out. I'll see you around." I didn't just ruin my boss's suit. I ruined his date. I could just die. I stared down at the half cup of coffee left in my hand. He walked up to me. "Are you just going to stand there? Trying to get out of taking responsibility?" Once we were in the elevator, my boss spoke first. "You're Annie Sterling, right? A low-level employee like me. Why would the CEO remember my name?" He smiled. "I remember you graduated from Columbia, too, right? A couple years behind me." I huddled in the corner of the elevator and nodded. "Yeah. Don't worry about the suit. I'll have Kevin send it to the dry cleaners. And thanks for helping me get out of there." His words were a huge relief. I smiled. "I didn't see a thing, Mr. Clark. Don't worry, I won't say a word back at the office." He smirked. "Exactly. What if you go back and start spreading rumors? I hate office gossip." Then he smiled again. "As it happens, I need an assistant for a new project. I'll have Kevin transfer you. You'll work in my office." What? The elevator chimed. We had arrived. Kevin, his executive assistant, was waiting outside the elevator doors, looking at me with surprise as I followed Mr. Clark out. Larry Clark took off his suit jacket and handed it to Kevin. Kevin took the jacket and fell into step behind me. "What are you doing in the executive elevator?" I glanced back. I'd been trailing Larry since we left the coffee shop, my mind consumed with how much his suit was going to cost me. I hadn't even noticed the elevator. "Kevin, transfer Annie to the Harborview project. She can have your desk." Kevin didn't question it, just nodded immediately. "Yes, sir." Then he gave me a look of pity. Back at my desk, my team lead, Davis, was already losing his patience. "What took you so long to get a coffee? Stop dilly-dallying. Where is it?" I looked at the half-empty cup in my hand. Davis started chewing me out again. "Annie, what are you even good for? How did the company ever hire a useless person like you? If he weren't a man in his 40s, I'd think he was going through menopause." Every day, it was a new reason, or no reason at all, for him to fly off the handle. "Do you even want to be assigned to any projects? At our company, you only got a bonus if you were on a project. Otherwise, you were stuck with a base salary of $3,500 a month. But on our team, only the people who managed to suck up to Davis ever got assigned to anything. In the 3 months since I started, my coworker Yvonne had already worked on 3 projects. But because I was quiet, I hadn't been given a single one. Yvonne quickly handed him a document. "Mr. Davis, here's the funding request for the dinner meeting with Mr. Miller tonight. Davis's hand brushed against Yvonne's as he took the file. See? Learn from Yvonne. Yvonne sneered. Someone as wooden as her would just bore the clients at a dinner. She's useful enough for cleaning the office and handling logistics. Bookworms who only know how to study aren't cut out for schmoozing. They're better off glued to a computer making PowerPoints. We can't have her reciting multiplication tables for the execs at dinner, can we? She said, laughing openly. I stood there, at a loss. This happened so often that no one else in the office even batted an eye anymore. Annie, Mr. Clark is waiting for you, Kevin said, appearing at our team's area. I casually placed the half-full cup of coffee on Davis's desk. Sorry, I'm on my way. When I pushed open the door to Larry's office, he had already changed his clothes. His eyes were glued to his computer. Hearing my voice, he looked up. Annie, got your tongue? When they mock you, why don't you say something back? I looked down. They're not wrong. It seemed like people like me weren't good for much besides studying. Don't waste your energy on pointless things like that. Take this research report. I need it finished by tomorrow, he said, tapping a file on his desk. Shaking off my gloom, I went over and picked up the stack of papers. Oh, okay. Kevin pointed to my new desk, which was inside Larry's office, near the door. I'm sitting here. Sharing an office with the CEO made me a little nervous. No wonder Kevin had looked at me with such pity. The file he gave me wasn't difficult, but it was a lot of work. It was already 5 p.m., and I watched as people at the desks outside started packing up to leave, but Larry showed no signs of moving. At 6 p.m., Larry shut down his computer. He stopped by my desk on his way out. How much do you have left? About a third. He glanced down. Clock out. Finish it tomorrow. But isn't this urgent? The client is out of town. We can push it a day. Oh. I shut down my computer and tidied my desk. Larry just stood there, waiting for me. I stood up, and he got ready to leave, too. Kevin had set up a new workstation for himself just outside the office. As Larry passed, Kevin thoughtfully fell in behind him, then glanced back and gestured for me to follow. As we passed my old team's area, I saw Davis leaving with Yvonne, who had changed into a slinky dress. They cut me off just as I was about to follow Larry. Davis slowed his pace, and the distance between him and Larry grew. Yvonne looked back at me. Well, Annie. Look at you, moving up in the world. Working in the CEO's office now. You're so stiff, what trick did you pull? You have to teach me. I didn't argue and had no desire to engage with her. Davis walked ahead to call the elevator, and Yvonne and I caught up to him. Yvonne lost interest. You're no fun. With an attitude like that, you'll never land a project in your life. She shot me a disgusted look. Go take your own elevator. Standing next to you is bad luck. Don't ruin my mood before I meet a client. I hadn't planned on riding with them anyway, so I turned to wait for the one across the hall. It was peak rush hour, and all the elevators were busy. Before another one arrived, the executive elevator chimed. Davis and Yvonne immediately put on fake smiles and bowed. Mr. Clark. Larry's voice was low and commanding. Annie, over here. Without acknowledging Davis, Larry had Kevin close the doors. Larry seemed annoyed. Your job is the same as Kevin's now. Where he is, you are. Got it? Kevin leaned in and whispered in my ear, where the boss is, I am. I looked down. Got it. I followed them all the way to the underground garage, where the driver was waiting right at the elevator entrance. After Larry got in the car, I thoughtfully closed the door for him. He looked at me, puzzled, and rolled down the window. I felt a little awkward. I still have to catch the subway. Larry sighed. Get in. I'll give you a ride home. I couldn't help but think of what Yvonne had just said. If he had moved me to his office to keep me from gossiping about his blind date, that was one thing. But giving me a ride home in his private car felt different. I blinked. Are you giving Kevin a ride home, too? Kevin, sitting in the front passenger seat, eagerly answered, my house is right next to Mr. Clark's. He arranged it to make work more convenient. Fair enough. I opened the door on the other side and got in. Where do you live? Newport Heights. Kevin sucked in a breath. That far? The car had just pulled out of the garage. I nodded. Yeah, so just dropping me at a subway station is fine. Kevin asked kindly, why don't you live in the company housing? Mr. Davis said there weren't any empty rooms. Kevin thought for a moment and shook his head. That's not right. He requested 3 apartments, each for 3 people. Your team only has 8 people in total. How could there be no extra space? I counted on my fingers. 1 for the women, 1 for the men, and 1 for Yvonne. Besides the team lead, your group has 5 women and 2 men. Yvonne's apartment should have an extra room. Kevin's tone was so gentle that I accidentally spilled everything I knew. Yvonne is the top performer on our team and brings in the most projects, so Mr. Davis said she's always out entertaining clients and has an erratic schedule. Sharing a room would be too disruptive for others. Larry, sitting to my left, hadn't said a word, but his expression was grim. I started to feel awkward again. I'm sorry, I think I said too much. Kevin helped smooth things over. Even by subway, Newport Heights has to be a 2-hour commute. The rent is cheaper out there, I said. You have the same job, the same rank, and the same benefits as Kevin. I'll have HR issue the transfer order tomorrow. Just head straight home after this, Larry said coolly. I thought I'd still have a probationary period, but with one command from Larry, I had seamlessly transitioned between 2 jobs. Kevin took out his laptop and started typing something, and the driver prepared to turn the car around. 20 minutes later, I finally understood what Kevin meant when he said his house was next door to Larry's. The car pulled into a community of townhouses in an area where land was worth its weight in gold. Larry owned one of them. As we got out, Larry adjusted his clothes. Come to my place for now. I'll have the housekeeper get a house ready for you. Oh, I couldn't. Kevin, walking behind me, gestured for me to go inside. This whole row of townhouses belongs to Mr. Clark. His staff all live here. The one on the left is mine, and the one at the very end is for the drivers. Just get the one on the right ready, Larry said, pointing casually. I was even more shocked. Larry didn't just own one house, he owned the entire row. I'd be scared living in such a big house by myself, I said, still not used to the idea of having a whole townhouse. Kevin smiled at me. You can have your family or friends move in. As long as they're not too loud, Mr. Clark won't mind. Kevin went to the study to put Larry's things away. When he came downstairs, he invited me. My girlfriend is making dinner at my place. Want to join? Your girlfriend is here, too. He smiled happily. She comes over sometimes on her days off, so you're in luck today. Then he turned to me. What about you? Do you have a boyfriend? No, I'm single, I said with an awkward smile. Larry grabbed the hood of my jacket, stopping me from leaving. Are you going to be a third wheel? It dawned on me. Oh, right. Thanks, Kevin, but I'll pass. Larry waved him off. Don't worry, she won't starve. After Kevin left, Larry turned and asked me, do you know how to cook? No, I never have time. I usually just order takeout. I pulled out my phone. Larry's house was so secluded that no delivery services even came out this far. He sighed and pointed to the sofa. Wait here. Larry went upstairs. 10 minutes later, he came back down, his hair soft and down instead of styled, and he'd changed into a loose, casual outfit. He walked into the open-plan kitchen, and I could see him moving around from the sofa. He took out 2 steaks, along with some vegetables and fruit. Unsure how long he'd be, I took out my laptop to continue with my unfinished work. Before long, he called me to the dining table. He placed a plate with a sliced steak in front of me. Larry's eyes crinkled with a smile. I only know how to make Western food. The housekeepers are all busy getting your place ready, so you'll have to make do. This is amazing. Thank you, Mr. Clark. We sat across from each other, eating in silence. Larry's movements were incredibly elegant. It was no wonder every woman in the company wanted to get close to him. Everyone whispered about how handsome and rich he was. If you could become Mrs. Clark, you'd be set for life. But I couldn't understand it. Why would you want to date your boss? At the office, I wanted to be as far away from him as possible. And his choice in dates. I thought of the woman I'd seen at the coffee shop today. At the very least, you'd expect someone from a similar background, elegant and beautiful. How could an overworked office drone like me ever catch his eye? Maybe Yvonne was an exception. I'd seen her hand Larry a cup of coffee in the break room once. Larry waved a hand in front of my face. What are you thinking about? I usually watch TV shows or read novels while I eat. Today, just sitting here with nothing to do, I found myself staring at Larry's face and letting my mind wander. Sorry. I noticed both our plates were empty. He stopped me as I tried to clear them. Just leave them. The staff will take care of it later. Your hands and your brain weren't made for this kind of work. Larry looked at me intently. Annie, you're very smart. You don't need to doubt yourself. His gaze was so intense and serious that for a moment, I didn't know what to say. The front door opened, and a few housekeepers came back in. Sir, the house is ready. A thought suddenly struck me, and I looked at Larry. But my apartment lease isn't up for another 15 days, and there's a $2,000 security deposit. If I don't give a month's notice, I might not get it back. Larry looked almost petrified. He gritted his teeth and said, I'll have the legal department handle it. Don't let it distract you from your work. Thank you, Mr. Clark. You don't have to call me Mr. Clark after work. You can call me Larry. Larry had two of the housekeepers escort me to the house next door, and he asked them to stay the night so I wouldn't be scared. In the huge master bedroom upstairs, several sets of clothes were laid out, pajamas, workout clothes, and a suit. All the toiletries and skincare products were prepared, too. The housekeeper smiled at me kindly. Ms. Sterling, Kevin called the department store and had them send these over. Please let us know if you're missing anything. No, this is more than enough. I stared at the counter full of La Mer products. Kevin was too good to me. What did I do to deserve this? It must be because Larry was afraid I'd spread rumors about his blind date. But this seemed like an excessive amount of bribery. The next morning, my 7 a.m. alarm went off. It took me a moment to remember I was in a new place. Living here, I could probably wake up at 9 a.m. and still be on time. I reset my alarm and went back to sleep for a little longer. When the 9 a.m. alarm rang, I felt like I'd had the most restful sleep of my life. I picked a mint green suit from the closet. The fabric felt so much nicer than the $50 suits I usually bought. I remembered Larry saying my benefits were the same as Kevin's. Kevin must be living the dream. Downstairs, a housekeeper had prepared breakfast and set it on the table. Miss Sterling, the master asked us to make an extra portion for you. Looking at the sandwich and milk in front of me, I was beginning to understand that Kevin's gentle, friendly smile was definitely genuine. After breakfast, I walked outside to find Larry's car waiting at the door. Kevin got out and waved at me. Morning, Annie. I smiled back. Morning, Kevin. I got in the car and saw Larry sitting in the back. Morning, Mr. Clark. He nodded in response. The car drove directly to the elevator in the underground garage, and Kevin expertly pressed the button for the executive lift. Just like yesterday, I followed Larry to his office, ignoring the daggers Davis and Yvonne were staring at me. I had organized part of the report before bed last night, so it only took me half an hour at the office to finish up the rest. Mr. Clark, I've sent the digital copy of the report you wanted to your email. I'm going to print out a hard copy now. He was busy with something and just grunted in response without looking up. The computer in Larry's office wasn't connected to a printer yet, and I was worried he'd need the document right away, so I went back to my old desk to print it. Usually, my old team would be slacking off at the cafe downstairs at this time. But this time, they were all sitting obediently at their desks. The moment Yvonne saw me, she sidled over. Well, look at the brand on that suit. Must have set you back a few $1,000s. Some people have all the luck. Davis chimed in righteously, plenty of people saw you get into Mr. Clark's car yesterday. Behavior like that gives our team a bad name. I steeled myself and faced them. My job is the same as Kevin's now. You shouldn't spread rumors. Yvonne put her hands on her hips. A bookworm like you? What could Mr. Clark possibly have you do? Kevin graduated from MIT with a perfect GPA. Don't you all have work to do? Kevin's voice rang out from behind us. Unlike his usual friendly tone, he sounded very serious. Remember to submit the receipts for the expenses you filed yesterday, along with the business justifications. You've requested entertainment funds 3 times this month without closing a single deal. The company's money isn't for you to go out to dinner. Davis said fawningly, Don't worry, Kevin. We're about to close the deal with Mr. Miller. We'll have a result within 5 days. If I see you wasting company time on trivial matters like this again, you can go to HR and pick up your termination papers. Yes, of course. It won't happen again, Davis said, pushing Yvonne away. Kevin helped me carry some of the documents. Annie, we've installed a printer in the office. You can just print from there next time. Thanks, Kevin. When I returned with the printed documents, Larry was just hanging up the phone. He grabbed his suit jacket from the hanger and put it on. Mr. Roberts from the Harborview project is back in the country early, so the meeting has been moved up. He stopped as he passed me. Annie, I looked over your proposal. It's excellent. I gave this assignment to another team 3 days ago, and today they handed me a plan that was safe, no mistakes, but nothing special either. It was nowhere near as good as what you gave me. Kevin patted my shoulder. Great job. Why don't you take a break in the office? Mr. Clark and I can handle the meeting. With no other work to do, I was a bit bored sitting at my desk. I saw a post on my best friend Serena's social feed. Moving is one of the most annoying things in life. Below was a picture of a room filled with 8 or 9 suitcases, with large cardboard boxes stacked nearby. I immediately called her. Hey, why don't you come live with me? Serena's delicate voice came through the phone. Babe, I've seen your place. It's barely 200 square feet. My suitcases alone would fill it up. Plus, it's too far from my office. Serena's office was 1 subway stop away from mine, but I started at 10 while she had to be in at 9. My old place was a bit of a commute for her. I moved, I said. A 2-bedroom? I hadn't actually checked out the house Larry had arranged for me, but I figured, it's definitely big enough for you. Send me the address. I'll come check it out after work. I'm worried my stuff will make it too crowded, and then you won't be comfortable. Serena was a manager at her company. She started earlier and left later than me, and her collection of suits, dresses, jewelry, and makeup needed a whole room to itself. After work, I sent Serena the location. She sent back a shocked emoji. A townhouse community? How much does that cost? Just come see it first. Less than half an hour later, Serena drove in. I had already spoken with security, so she wasn't stopped at the gate. Babe, did you win the lottery or something? Or are you mixed up in something shady? No, that's not like you. I handed her a pair of slippers. My boss arranged it. Said it would be more convenient for work. She gasped. I'm 3 levels above you and I don't get perks like this. The most they gave me was a company car for client meetings. I'm seriously thinking about switching jobs. Serena toured the house with me and was beyond pleased. She gave me a suggestive look. You don't think your boss has a thing for you, do you? Our Annie is like a little bunny, so cute everyone loves her. I rolled my eyes at her. What's more believable? That my boss likes me, or that I'm secretly the first emperor of China reborn? The emperor one, for sure. I mean, look, you're already living in your own palace, she said, diving into my arms for a hug. The doorbell rang. I ran to open it, and yesterday's housekeeper was standing there politely. Miss Sterling, the master said they made some extra food today and would like you to join them. I have a friend over, we can just. The housekeeper seemed to have anticipated this, smiling as she said, the master said your friend is welcome to join, too. Let's go. I'll vet him for you, Serena said, linking her arm through mine. The housekeeper led Serena and me to Larry's dining room. It was clear a professional chef had cooked today. There were dozens of dishes laid out on the table. This wasn't some extra food. This was enough for 10 people. Larry had changed back into his casual clothes and was wearing glasses. We're trying out a new chef, and he got a little carried away. I figured I'd ask for your help tasting everything. Mr. Clark, Kevin said I could have family or friends stay over. I hope it's okay that I invited my friend. Larry just glanced at Serena. That's your decision. While Larry went to wash his hands, Serena pulled me aside and whispered, okay, I take it back. I totally think he's into you. I was confused. How can you tell? We didn't even know each other before this. Trust my experience. I'm never wrong about this stuff. She broke it down for me. He didn't invite me over just to eat. The car I have parked outside is a model that men usually prefer. I only got it to impress clients. But your boss doesn't know that. He wasn't sure if your visitor was a man or a woman, so he invited us both to dinner to check. When he said he got carried away, his eyes darted away from you for a second. That's a sign of guilt. And he looked slightly relieved when he saw me. Trust me, she said, giving me a confident look. Mr. Clark, right? Annie has told me how well you've been taking care of her, and I really appreciate it. I'm so sorry, but the movers just called to say they've arrived. Thank you for the invitation, but I won't be able to stay for dinner. I need to go get my things, Serena said, downing the glass of champagne that had been prepared for her. Larry nodded slightly and signaled for the housekeeper to show her out. Mr. Clark, isn't this way too much food? Won't it go to waste? His expression was neutral. The Harborview project was a success. Mr. Roberts was very pleased with your proposal. Consider this a celebration dinner. I finally closed a project. I couldn't help but smile from the heart. Then we should invite Kevin to celebrate with us. He's busy. No time. Larry didn't like to talk while eating, so we just ate in silence. My mind was racing with what Serena had said to me before she left. My eyes drifted from Larry's hands up to his chest, his throat, and his face. Is it too spicy? Larry asked with concern. I looked up. Huh? Why is your face so red? Cough, cough, cough. Larry handed me a glass of warm water. It's nothing, I just choked a little. Thanks. I'm full. I'm going to go help Serena get settled. I practically fled the room. The next morning, it was the same routine, a prepared breakfast and a car waiting outside. There's a partnership meeting tomorrow. You're coming with me. You'll be in charge of this project. Mr. Clark, I've never managed a project on my own before. The proposal you did last time was excellent, easy to understand and highly efficient to execute. It's much more practical than all that jargon-filled, long-winded stuff. Seeing my hesitation, Larry dropped the key point. Annie, the bonus for this project is 6 figures. I instinctively counted on my fingers, then nodded firmly. Mr. Clark, I can do it. At 11 a.m., Larry tapped on my desk. I followed him to a restaurant in a 5-star hotel. A beautiful young woman was already seated in the private room. I had reviewed her file. Her name was Annabelle. She had been classmates with Larry in middle and high school, studied abroad for college, and had just returned last year to launch her own fashion company. Annabelle lit up when she saw us. "Larry, did you invite me for a meal or a business deal? You ordered all my favorite things." Larry sat down next to her. "No reason we can't do both. This is my assistant, Annie Sterling." I smiled and nodded. "Where's Kevin?" "He's busy with another project." "That's a shame. I was looking forward to seeing him." "He has a girlfriend now, so behave yourself." Annabelle nudged Larry's arm. "I'm just kidding. Why are you still no fun?" I finally understood. It wasn't that Larry didn't like to talk during meals, he just didn't like talking to me. As the meal wound down, Annabelle turned to me. "Annie, I hear you brought a proposal. I'd like to see it." She flipped through the pages, her beautiful face furrowing slightly. "Is this projected revenue correct? Our company's forecast is 0. 3 percentage points lower than yours. Your numbers seem a bit too good to be true." "Well, Ms. Annabelle, we've factored in celebrity promotions and variety show sponsorships, as well as some targeted ad buys and influencer marketing. Based on our past experience, this strategy should boost growth by 0.5% to 0.8% year over year. The 0.3% is a conservative estimate." I turned to the detailed section of the proposal and handed it to her. "Your approach could indeed drive growth, and it doesn't seem too complicated to implement. We can give it a try. Send me a more detailed proposal within 3 days. Larry has my email." "Of course, Ms. Annabelle." As we parted ways, Annabelle hugged Larry. "It's been too long. I'll have to come visit your parents sometime." On the way back, Larry was smiling, a rare sight. "You did a great job, Annie." I looked down. I've worked on a few proposals before, and they performed well, but I was only responsible for a small part. I never even got credit. "Annie, you did an excellent job. The only thing you're missing is a little confidence." Under Davis, my proposals were torn to shreds. He'd say that showing them to a client would be disgusting, that an elementary schooler could write something more coherent. Yvonne would say my PowerPoints looked nice, but I couldn't even read them without stumbling. Davis would glare at me from the audience, and even if I could have read it smoothly, I'd get nervous and start to stammer. Eventually, Yvonne started offering to present for me. But as she presented, my work slowly became hers, and she and Davis would gang up on me afterward. At first, I would argue back, but it only led to nastier tirades from Davis. So eventually, I just stopped. I stopped trying, stopped speaking up. I was fully prepared to be fired at the end of the month, and then Larry suddenly told me that I was doing a good job, that I was great. I looked at him, filled with gratitude. "Thank you, Mr. Clark." On the way home that evening, Kevin turned around to chat with me. "We've already terminated your old lease. All your things have been moved over." "Thanks, Kevin." It was all Mr. Clark's arrangement. I had lost count of how many times I had thanked Larry over the past few days. "Thank you, Mr. Clark. I'll finish Annabelle's proposal as quickly as I can for your review. I promise I'll close this deal." Perhaps landing the project was the best way to thank him. Finally, after 2 weeks of revisions and negotiations, Annabelle agreed to the partnership. Annabelle looked up at me. "Larry has told me so many times, but now I see it for myself, you really are outstanding. But the contract still needs one change." My heart sank. "What part?" "Here. Change this to 3 years." She pointed to the contract term, which was originally set for 1 year. "I really enjoy working with you. You always grasp my ideas so quickly. You're sincere, humble, and hardworking, and we get along so well. I'd love to work with you long term," Annabelle said with a genuine smile. The moment she signed the contract, a million fireworks went off in my head. I felt a wave of relief as I handed the contract to Larry. Mr. Clark, Annabelle signed for 3 years, I said, not even trying to hide my excitement. He slowed as he flipped through the contract. I'll have Kevin book a restaurant tonight. A celebration dinner for you. On the way, Kevin seemed genuinely happy for me. This is the restaurant Davis always books for celebration dinners. He brings Yvonne here every time. I booked the most luxurious private room for us. I had mentioned to Kevin in passing that I was never allowed to go to the team's celebration dinners. Davis never invited me. All I could do was look at the photos of the fancy meals in the group chat. Kevin was so thoughtful. He booked the same restaurant they always went to, so I could finally eat there without needing Davis or Yvonne's permission. The car pulled up to a 5-star hotel. Davis has good taste. I hear the chefs here are all famous international chefs, and the ingredients are flown in daily. As we followed the staff inside, Kevin pulled me back. Isn't that Davis and Yvonne? I knew it. The expense reports this month were way up, with receipts from several 5-star hotels. Davis said it was for Mr. Miller's accommodations. Looks like something's up. I never expected a celebration dinner to turn into front row seats to some drama. Larry waited quietly while Kevin and I gossiped. Kevin was angry. I'll have someone look into this. Stealing from the company? He pulled out his phone and stepped aside. Come on, let's go inside, Larry said to me. Kevin had pre-ordered the food and wine. In the lavishly decorated, brightly lit restaurant, Larry and I sat across from each other, feeling like we were on a candlelit date. Larry had the waiter pour us some red wine. I can hold my liquor pretty well, but I still sent Serena my location, just in case. If I was out too late, she could come get me. I didn't want to make a fool of myself. Congratulations, Larry said, raising his glass. Thank you, Mr. Clark. You don't have to be so formal. After work, you can call me Larry. His eyes were full of admiration. Annie, you seem so much more confident now. It's all thanks to your trust, Mr. Clark. And I've learned a lot from you and Kevin. Annie, women can be just as successful. Look at Serena and Annabelle. They're both women, and they're both exceptional. You should never feel ashamed or inferior because of your gender. Your abilities at work are second to none. That was from a social media post I'd made a few months ago after being rejected by 7 or 8 companies. They all passed on me because I was a woman and instead hired male candidates from less prestigious schools with worse grades. In the middle of the night, I had vented online, "This world is so unfair. When will we finally get rid of gender discrimination?" I wanted to die of embarrassment. Did Larry have nothing better to do than scroll through my posts from months ago? I quickly changed my privacy settings to only show the last 3 days. Seeing me fiddling with my phone, Larry chuckled. Too late. I've already read everything you've posted. Could this man read minds? He raised his glass again and drained it. It's funny, actually. Annie, when I saw your name in the pile of resumes, I was so glad. I never thought we'd meet again. Again? Move-in day, freshman year. I helped you with your luggage. We were taking pictures for a club activity. Larry pulled out his phone and opened our chat history. The background was a photo. In it, a boy in a white t-shirt, jeans, and sneakers stood next to a girl in a light blue dress with a high ponytail. In a gust of wind, her hair and the hem of her dress flew up. On a tree-lined path, their hands touched the same suitcase. One of them blushed, the other's ears turned red, and they both smiled, awkward and bright. You were so polite back then, too. Just like when we first met again, always saying thank you, senior. He blushed slightly as he recalled, at the freshman welcome ceremony, I was sitting right next to you. I'm nearsighted and had forgotten my glasses that day. I'd spent the whole time squinting, trying to see the performances on stage. Larry smiled at me. At the basketball game, you were the only one I took water from. The class monitor had asked a few of us girls to bring water to the guys on our team. But as soon as I got there, someone I didn't know grabbed the water from my hands. They said thanks, and I completely forgot to get it back. I tried to find you a few times, but you were always either in class or at the library. Always studying, studying, studying. I thought you were a block of wood. I had no choice but to wait until you graduated. Larry's face grew redder and redder. I couldn't tell if he was shy, angry, or just drunk. I thought of what Serena had said. Could he really like me? He was a good person. He was never stingy with praise and always encouraged me. He was tall, handsome, ambitious, and incredibly capable. Being around him, I had slowly regained my confidence. He had the decisiveness and composure that I lacked. He broke the silence. So, what do you think? I thought for a moment. Your social feed is empty. That's not fair. Annie, you really are a block of wood, Larry said, stuffing a large bite of steak in his mouth in frustration. I looked down. I mean, I want to get to know you, too. Larry's head shot up, his eyes wide with surprise and joy. Annie, thank you. It was one of the few times he had ever said thank you to me. We left the hotel together. Kevin was long gone. Serena's car was parked at the entrance, and she spotted me the moment I came out. Annie, I feel dizzy, Larry said, leaning his head on my shoulder. Serena was both amused and annoyed. Annie, if this was the situation, why did you even call me? I didn't know it would be like this. Who would have guessed that Larry would be the one who couldn't hold his liquor, the one who got drunk? Serena and I helped him to the driver's car, and then I got into Serena's. On the way, I messaged Kevin. By the time we got home, Kevin was already waiting at the door. I got out of the car and confronted him. Kevin, why did you disappear today? Mr. Clark messaged me and told me to get something good to eat on him. He paused and whispered, but I wasn't planning on going in anyway. Kevin helped a stumbling Larry home, and Serena pulled me aside, demanding a full explanation. The next day at the office, for the first time, the annoying duo of Davis and Yvonne was nowhere to be seen. I asked Kevin curiously, where are Davis and Yvonne? Fired for taking kickbacks and embezzling company funds. Their pay and bonuses for the month were docked, Kevin replied matter-of-factly. Larry announced pompously, in light of Annie Sterling's outstanding performance on the Annabelle Group project, she will be the new lead for Team 1. Any objections? I seem to recall the employee handbook forbids office relationships. Which meant if I worked here, everything Larry said yesterday was pointless. Larry cleared his throat uncomfortably. You're misremembering. Kevin leaned down and whispered in my ear, the day you were transferred to the executive office, Mr. Clark had that rule changed. After telling me that, Kevin quickly fled the office. Larry stood up. That rule was my dad's idea. I never agreed with it. It has nothing to do with you. He looked at me intently. I've always believed in having it all, a great career and a great relationship.